What's up, you guys? Welcome back and welcome if you're new. In today's video, we're not going to be focusing on the Tacoma. We're actually going to be focusing onto the Jeep. And as you can tell, I'm right here with my good friend Jerry, the owner of BeastFab. And today we're going to be installing a lift kit onto the Jeep. I'm super excited for this. Right now it does sit like a lowrider. So once we install the lift, it's actually going to look really good. It's a 2.5-inch lift. It might look for a little while like if it's skipped leg day, but it's all good until we get the tires and wheels. It'll look really good. So right now we're going to go ahead and measure it as it is stock, and then after we do the installation and show you guys, then we'll go ahead and measure it after to show you guys the difference. So let's go ahead and now get into the video and we'll show you guys.
All right guys, now we're gonna show you how the Jeep is looking right now, which is stock, you know. So now we gotta measure it and see, you know, where we're getting started from. So we got 90 inches, 90 and a quarter, I would say, from the ground to the fender. So that's the front end. So now we're gonna move to the rear, and right here we have 91, almost 3 feet. So yeah, that's pretty much the measurements, like stock. So we see right afterwards, and it's gonna look all right.
Before we get started, anytime you are working with something big like this, you do want to go ahead and spread out the whole hardware, the product, anything like that, so that way you guys can see, make sure that you have everything that's supposed to be inside the box. As you can tell, we have the 4 springs, we have the 4 shocks, the sway bar end links, and then the hardware and a couple other little things. So it's going to be a long process, but it's going to be well worth it. Make sure to stay tuned, because after the installation video down the road, we'll go ahead and do a review video as well, taking it off road, going through ruts, taking it maybe on the sand dunes and other little things to test out this actual suspension. Let's do it. So we're going to go ahead and start off right here. So this is of course the front. So looking right here, it's going to be a size 18 socket, and then up there as well to remove the shock. This is a little bit of a long process, so if you guys are afraid, I would highly suggest just hitting up Jerry, have him do the installs for you. They're a great price. So let's go ahead and keep going. All right, so as you can tell, at the bottom it was a size 18 socket, and then at the top as well. That top one is pretty easy to get out. You just kind of have to flex this wheel well back, and then you can get to it. And then the shock comes right out, as you can tell. So let me go ahead and show you guys. This is the stock one. It's just plain black, and it's pretty small. This is the one from Rough Country, of course. Right now they are compressed, so that's why it looks a lot smaller. So up next, what we're removing is this link right here. On the back side is the bolt. That's going to be a size 18 socket as well. And then on this side, it's going to be another 18. And then it'll remove. Super easy. Just like that, it'll remove. Just wiggle it. That's the stock one there. So of course, now that we've removed those two, up next we're going to be removing the spring, so that way we can install everything, of course, and the bump stop that goes at the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and lower this down so it brings it down, and then we can finally take it out.
Lift it more.
So this is the top hat that was up there, of course. You want to go ahead and save this because we're going to be reusing it. Now to show you guys, this is the front spring, the stock one, of course. And then this one is the aftermarket one from Rough Country. So as you can tell, it is significantly larger. So now that we have all that out of the way, we would recommend probably removing this bracket here, just so you don't pull on any lines or rip them. So that's next. To remove it, it is going to be a 15mm socket. Then you remove the bracket, kind of pull the line up just so it's out of the way. Just like that, it's out. One tip, if you guys do want to go to the extreme, it is going to help you guys out. You guys can remove this bolt, kind of remove this. Just be super careful because these are brake lines, and that'll kind of help you get the wrench in there. That's what we're going to do. Just a tip. You don't have to. It is scary. Up next, you want to go ahead and get the baggie that has the hardware with 2 of these type of bolts, 2 washers, and 2 of these copper nuts. The reason why is because now we're going to be installing the spacer, the bump stop spacer, which is right here. This part is a little bit on the harder side. You do have the bolt there, spacer, or the washer, and then the spacer. This is why I would leave it to the professionals, because it is a little bit harder to get there. Just to show you guys, so right here, of course, is the bolt that I just told you guys to grab. You want to go ahead and put the washer. This section here, we're not going to lie, it does take a little bit of time and probably maneuvering and some patience. You guys will see why right now. As you could tell, since we removed that brake line, the little bracket that was there, now it's a lot easier to actually get your hand up here, of course, to spin the bolt. and then to kind of hold the nut into place at the bottom. Of course, you guys can't see it, but inside you got to stick your hand in. That's what we were saying. This may take some patience, so if you guys have that, you guys can. Once you guys, of course, have hand tightened this right here, go ahead and grab a 15mm socket, and that's what it's going to be to actually tighten this thing down fully. So for the top hat, we're going to put that in first. You're going to notice there is this little thing here, and then on the opposite side there's one more. That's going to go right inside, and when you're putting it in, you want to go ahead and make sure to focus up there. I'd say put a light, and it does actually go into a slot back there and back there. So once you find out, you just go ahead and slide it in, make sure it's actually into place, and then we'll go ahead and put the spring after that. As you could tell, that did require 2 people. We had to kind of pull this down here, and then Jerry was kind of just pulling in the spring. We started off from the top and then kind of worked it from the bottom, trying to get it over this spacer right here. And then once you do that, the spring will be kind of into place, but you just want to make sure, of course, right here, as you could tell, the spring ends. You want to make sure it's in this place right here, so that way it's installed correctly, and then you just check the top as well, make sure you installed that.
Now we're gonna put the new one in. So we're gonna remove this one right here. This is you, and this is the guy that she tells you not to worry about.
So you guys get a side-by-side comparison. As you can tell, check this out, you guys. It is larger. So now that we got the shock into place, we're basically going to be reinstalling just the way we took it off. For the shock, you actually do reuse the factory bolts that you took off. So top one is going to be the same 18mm socket, and then same thing for the bottom bolts, it'll be an 18mm socket. Alright you guys, so now that we're done with that, we're going to start working on the sway bar links. So as you can tell, this one right here is the stock one. This is for the front, and these are going to be the brand new ones from Rough Country. These are for the front as well. So as you can tell, this stock one is significantly smaller, and the Rough Country ones are a lot bigger with a bigger bulge right here. So for the sway bar links up front, you do want to get the baggie that does have a couple of these copper bolts, washers, and nuts. So let's do that. One thing to note when installing this sway bar link you want to focus on is noticing right here the little notch. You want to make sure that it's actually closest to the sway bar, so not going the other way. So just make sure you take note on that. As I had said, you do use the stock bolt at the bottom. At the top, we're going to be using the brand new hardware. When putting in the hardware, you want to of course make sure to put the washer right there that is provided, and then of course the bolts right there. Once you do that, you go to the opposite side and put the nut. For reference, this one right here is going to be a 19mm socket. The nut in the back is going to be an 18. Damn. First we just hand tightened everything, but now we actually hit it with the gun. So everything is actually now torqued down, everything's tightened. So the bolt down there, that bolt there, of course the spacer was tightened down. We've already done the shock now, bottom and top. Don't forget to actually reinstall this bracket that we took off, and don't forget to reinstall this bracket that was here for the brake lines. So basically once you're done, everything's tightened. Now you can go ahead and put your tire back, of course, and do the same exact steps that you did to this side onto the opposite side. Let's go ahead and now move to the back. So of course we just finished up the 2 fronts. Now we're going to be working on the back. So for the back, it's going to take the same thing. Up top, it is going to be a size 18mm socket to remove the 2 bolts that are on top of the shock. And then towards the bottom right here, we already removed it, of course, but that is also an 18mm socket. So it's going to be super easy to remove it, and then now we can go ahead and pull it out and go to the next step. Now that we removed the shock, up next is going to be this sway bar link right here. We're going to go ahead and start off right here at the bottom. It is going to be an 18mm socket. On this side, we're going to go ahead and put the gun, and on this side, we're going to go ahead and put the wrench because that'll be the easiest. So let's do that now. All right, so that was super simple. Up next, we're going to go ahead and focus up here on the top right here on this link, same thing. This one's going to be 18mm socket to go ahead and remove it. Just to show you guys a side-by-side comparison, this one of course is the factory one that we just took off, and this one right here is going to be the brand new one from Rough Country. As you can tell, a side-by-side comparison, it is slightly larger. So yeah, once we remove the link right here, now up next we're going to go ahead and now remove the spring so we could put the brand new one. To do that, we're going to go ahead and now drop the differential just a little bit by pulling it down, and then we'll go ahead and work that out. So just like that. And make sure you guys save that top hat because we are going to reuse it. Just to show you guys the difference really quick before we install it, this one right here is of course the factory one, and then this one is going to be the new one that we're going to be installing. As you can tell, it is a little bit bigger and it looks a lot nicer. To install the brand new spring, you want to go ahead and make sure to put the top hat back on, and it has like the same front little nipples just like the front ones did, so you want to make sure to put those in the correct position. So when you are installing it, when you're in person, you'll be able to see where that nipple goes into. Once you do that, you just kind of have someone help you out to drop the diff. That way it kind of helps you out to put the spring in. Since this one is going to be larger than the stock one, it may be a little bit harder to kind of get it in. Same thing, once you have it in, you want to go ahead and kind of just spin the spring until it kind of locks into place. Make sure you have it in the correct position, which we have it there. Up next, Rough Country does provide you with some new bump stops right here. They're not actual bump stops, these are actually like spacers. So you put the bracket right over, and then we're going to go ahead and now get the hardware that is provided. Copper bolts, and then you want to get the washer, and then one of the provided nuts right after. Each one is going to go on one side, so one bolt is going to go on this side and one bolt will go on the opposite side. So just like that, and as you can tell, we did add in the washers right there. So just put it in just like that. So there's the two. Now we're going to go ahead and put the nuts that go on the bottom on each side. So now that we put the bolts, washers, and nuts on both sides, up next, of course, right now we just hand tighten them, but now we're going to go ahead and get the 14mm wrenches. One's going to be a ratchet wrench and one's just going to be a regular one. The regular one, we'll go ahead and hold the nut, and then with the other one, we'll go ahead and tighten it down. Once you finish up one side, of course, do the same thing to the opposite side. So you guys can see the side-by-side comparison. This one is the factory one right here, and this one is going to be the brand new one. Can't wait to install these and try these out. Make sure you stay tuned for the review video because that will be coming soon. Up next, we'll be installing the shock. We're going to start with the top, of course. So we're going to be reusing the factory bolts that we took off for the actual shock. Noticing right here, of course, the spacer is on this side, which is closest to the chassis, and then the bolt is closest to the outside of the vehicle. So now that we have it into place, of course, we're going to, of course, be using the stock bolts once again for the bottom. Now that we've tightened this down here, up next we're going to go ahead and now tighten down the top bolts that are in there that you can't really see. Of course, we just had them hand tightened right now. And then after that, we'll get back to these links that are here. Now that we're getting the rear sway bar link, now you want to go ahead and get the hardware that was provided, which is this one here. It's going to be one of these like copper goldish bolts, and then the washer and the nut. And then for the bottom part, we're going to actually be reusing the stock ones. So let's do that now. That's hand tightened. We're going to go ahead and drop it so we can put it in the bottom one. We said for the bottom one, we're going to be reusing the stock ones. Alright, so now that everything is tightened down, everything looks good. So here's the sway bar link, of course. Here's the brand new spring, brand new shock. So this is basically how it should look. So exactly the same steps you did on this side, now you want to go ahead and do on the opposite side. So let's go ahead and now drop this down. Damn, so much better. Now that we're done, we'll go ahead and give you guys the measurements right now. And of course, you can tell it looks so much better. And now it is time for some 35s and some actual wheels. It'll look really good. Make sure to stay tuned for the review video because we'll give you that.
All right, guys, so we're going to give you guys the outcome measurements. So we got right here, we were in 36, close to 36. So now we are at 38 and a half, so we're looking at 2.5 inches easily right there. So there it is. We're gonna check the rear. So the rear, so we are just right there about the same thing, 38 and a half. So that means that you're actually getting a 2.5 lift. So there it is.
All right, so now that we've ended this video, of course, I hope you guys enjoyed the whole installation process on installing it. I know it wasn't on the Tacoma today, but we had fun doing it onto the Jeep. And of course, if you guys do want to check out Jerry, make sure to check out the description box below. I'll make sure to link all his information there. And also, if you guys do end up wanting to purchase any of this Rough Country suspension, it doesn't matter if it's for a Jeep or many other vehicles, I'll make sure to link them in the description box as well, so that way you guys can purchase it if you want. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys on the next time. Peace. It's growing just like it grows when he sees me.